Hey, we're here at Dogwood Speedway today with the legendary Phil Combs, and we'd like to have a few words with you today.
All right, sounds good.
So, how long have you been in motorsports as a whole? I know you've had several roles in motorsports
Yeah.
from our talks for years and years, but the people that don't know, kind of give us a little history.
Well, if you're figuring it up like that, this makes 62 years because I started selling papers at the races when I was 7 years old. And my dad put me in business for myself at 7 years old. I sold papers at Asheville on Friday night and Hickory on Saturday night because my dad was a chief steward for NASCAR at the time at those two tracks. My mother was a track steward. She sold the drivers their NASCAR license, their pit passes, and she actually even paid them at the end of the night. And so my brother had done this before me with National Speed Sport News. So when I come along, I started selling Southern Motor Racing papers. And I had 3 kids that worked for me at Asheville and 3 that worked for me at Hickory. So I sold them to the drivers and the pit crews, and these kids would go through the infield and the grandstand and sell them to everybody else. And I paid them 7 cents. I got paid 7 cents a copy, and I paid them 5 cents a copy. And so that was my first experience in racing. And then I started racing myself, when I got on up. And I started racing in 1970. I was born in December 57, and started racing in Shelby at Shelby Kartland, where I live at. And from then on, I haven't ever stopped.
That's awesome. So you have a history in NASCAR and with the greatest people in motorsports history. We see all over social media. You actually have a museum in Shelby, North Carolina. For the people that are maybe vacationing in North Carolina, could you tell them a little information about the museum?
Oh, yeah.
It is phenomenal from the videos I've seen and the countless pieces of irreplaceable racing history that's in the museum.
Oh yeah, it's at my house, and I live in, like you say, Shelby, North Carolina, which is right off of Highway 74. Highway 74 runs from one end of North Carolina to the other. It runs from Murphy to Manteo is what they call it. And I don't live, like I say, 5 minutes off it. But if anybody's ever coming through, you can look the museum up. I tell people before they come to watch the video that Staple and 42 did, because it lasts 1 hour and 56 minutes. It's almost like going to see a movie. But you got to realize when they came and videoed that, they videoed for 6 hours and 15 minutes and edited it down to 1 hour and 56 minutes. So you get to see a lot, but you don't see nowhere near everything. But it's just a piece of my family's history with my dad, my mom, my brother, and myself, and a lot of other Combs, Rodney Combs, and if it's got the name Combs connected to it, I got a lot of stuff in there. Everybody but P. Diddy. I don't have anything on P. Diddy, but everybody else. But no, it's really a neat place because I get more stuff every week, and it's just amazing. I get people who call me from all over the country, and I've got stuff on everything from dirt track racing to NASCAR racing, go-kart racing, motorcycle racing, a little bit of everything. I'll say in this video, if it's got the word racing attached to it, I probably got something in there about it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So, can you give us a little history about you and the Byers family, Rodney Byers in particular? You have been at Dogwood since I can remember at certain special events. Of course, the Burris Nationals, Wayne Overton Memorial, that's where I actually met you at. The Big O for years and years. You seem to be the voice of some of the major events, but kind of, let's talk about this weekend and, Rodney Byers in particular.
Oh, well, Rodney and I go back a long way. I met Rodney on a night that I announced the first Will Brinkley race, and he and I just we hit it off good. We did, and so he called me after that and said, "I'm having some kind of race. I can't remember what it was, and they want me to come down here." And like I mentioned earlier, it's a long ride for me, down here from North Carolina. But it's worth it because I treasure Rodney and Dolores' friendship, and the girls too, his daughters. But it's this place is kind of special. It's my home away from home, you might say. It's my Georgia home track since Carnesville's gone now. Back in the day, I announced like 15 Thanksgiving Thunders in a row in Carnesville. I came by there this morning. It really breaks my heart to go by there and see that place all grown up, and it's just kind of in shambles, you might say, right now. But Rodney, back to your question, when he called me about doing this race, it'd be hard for me to say no to Rodney on announcing a race if I'm not working somewhere else. But it's good this race is this weekend because I was just talking to Jason C. and I start my regular deal at Tri-County at the car track I announce at next weekend, so I'll be pretty busy. But I've, I really kind of retired from kart racing a few years ago at the Burris race at Kentucky at Clay City, and that was really going to be my last race. Well, I missed so many of my friends. I mean, I did. I've seen these people for so many years. It's just hard to walk away from it. It was kind of like getting a divorce. You walk away from it and it's over. Well, retiring from karting was kind of like getting a divorce. So I said, well, maybe I need to go back and do a few races. So I went back and did a couple, and then now I get as many calls as I used to get. It's crazy. I get calls every week saying if I'd be interested in coming somewhere and announcing a race, and I feel honored that people even ask me to announce a race but it's been a great ride. It has. It's been an amazing thing. But I love coming up here. I got a lot of friends in these pits. I do. I mean, friends that I made years ago, and now I've watched the dads that used to race pitting their kids now that race. I've seen some of these on the third generation. So it's just a great facility and great atmosphere and just a good place to come.
Gotcha. Sounds awesome. So this race is actually being presented by Burris Racing.
Right.
So do you have any information on the Burris Racing family and maybe a little background with them for the people that don't know?
Yeah, I've been, that's one cool thing. Rodney and I both got to fly to California, and Mike Burris, we stayed at his house, and we actually went to the Winter Nationals at Pomona Drag Strip. Rodney's a big drag racing fan like I am, and Mike Burris is a huge drag racing fan. So we went to the Pomona Winter Nationals drag race, went to the Hall of Fame, NHRA Hall of Fame. But Mike, he raced himself back in the day, and then he got his son Kurt into it, and Kurt won everything he could win basically out in California, and then of course Kurt kind of filled in his dad's footsteps. But they've got an amazing facility out there. Everybody thinks it's just Burris tires, but they make a lot of high performance parts, mostly for two-cycle stuff. But they've been involved in karting for a long time. Mike, he's been very instrumental with developing a lot of stuff, high performance stuff for engines and just pieces for carts and this, that, and the other. And Kurt's kind of just following in his footsteps. But if you ever get a chance, we're in Huntington Beach, California. And we got to go out on the pier at Huntington Beach, which is kind of like the highlight of the thing. If you go to the New York, you want to go up on the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty or whatever, you go to Huntington Beach, California, you want to go to the Huntington Beach Pier. And we got to go out on that. So we've seen a lot of cool stuff when I was out there.
That's awesome. So thank you for sharing with us today. And looks like we've got a great crowd on hand today. 77 for the high today. Beautiful.
I want to thank you for being here because, you cover a lot of territory too, whether it's way up north or way down south. I don't know how many miles you put on a vehicle a year, but it's a lot. But we appreciate all you do for karting because, I've told you before, I used to make pictures at one time myself. And to capture those moments that I love, you might not believe this, but if you ever come to my museum, I'll show you. I've got right at 300 picture albums about different stuff. And the picture albums I got about myself racing, no amount of money will buy them. It's
100%.
those moments that you capture, whether it's, your wife, your girlfriend, or your pit crew or whoever, especially Victory Lane pictures. Those are some of the best ever.
Some of the legendary racers that have come through the kart racing community to make it on to the next level, just that you've talked about in the past, is phenomenal. People don't realize that this can be a full-time deal in kart racing at the professional level, or you can use it as a stepping stone up to NASCAR.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I know we talked about Trevor Bain was one of the racers that come through. Is there any other notable names that you have seen go to the next step?
The most amazing two are Ricky Rudd and Lake Speed. They never raced dirt. They never raced the Dash Series that I used to run. They never raced the Busch Series. They never raced anything from go-karts till they ran in a Cup Series.
Yeah.
And both of them went on to have successful careers.
Yeah, if nobody, the young people for sure need to look up Ricky Rudd. Ricky Rudd is an incredible story.
He is. Always amazing.
He ran all over the country, all over the world racing asphalt road course karts, and made it to the top level. One of the toughest competitors in NASCAR, Winston Cup racing at the time. So it's incredible. And Lake Speed, of course, he was a phenomenal racer. There's just tons and tons that come through. Right now, we have incredible racers that are in the karting world that continue on. Austin Yarborough, for one, is running in the Crate Racing USA division,
Right.
and competitively, and jumps into a go-kart, wins 2 races at the Chili Bowl. I mean, he's still got it. It don't go away.
Oh yeah, I always say it's like roller skating, water skiing, or riding a bicycle. Once you ever learn how to do it, you don't never forget. And I proved this to some of my buddies a couple years ago up at Bobby Geddes' track where I started racing kind of. One of the first tracks I raced at, and I hadn't rode a go-kart in years. And we went up there on a Sunday afternoon and I've got a go-kart that I have fixed up, and I made one lap to warm the engine up, and the next lap I come around there, I was wide open. And I pulled back in the pits after I finished making, I went out and run about 10 laps. And those guys said, "My God, I can't believe you run that fast." And I said, "Well, good Lord, I've been racing here my whole life. They ain't changed the track. It's the same way around it, but it's a cool deal to get to do something, get back on one after you hadn't been on one in a while. It really is."
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate it, and going to look forward to listening to you all day today at Dogwood Speedway in Chatsworth, Georgia.
Well, Blake, again, thank you so much for all you do, and I appreciate you having me on here
today.
today.
Thank you so much.